Yeah. Let me back up a sec, because if you told me 3 months ago that a busted-up Army girl from Texas with a knack for going unnoticed would end up at the center of a classified experiment in the middle of the military shadow world, I'd have laughed in your face, you know what I mean? But that's the thing about life in uniform. Sometimes the wildest twists show up when you're just sitting quietly, minding your own business like I was that day, arm in a sling, ribs wrapped tight, waiting under those god-awful hospital lights. 3 hours I waited, and I didn't even complain, not really my style anymore. Complaining never fixed anything back home, and sure as hell didn't help here. The accident was 2 weeks back, Fort Bragg, just a routine rappelling drill, except nothing's routine when fate's got you in its sights. Rope snapped 20 feet up, I hit the rocks hard, saw stars, blood running down my forehead, ribs screaming, shoulders somewhere it wasn't supposed to be. The rest of my squad rushed over, but I brushed them off. Stubborn, I guess, or just raised to never show weakness. Old habits from Texas die slow. Growing up, my 3 brothers were all noise and fists, fighting for every scrap of attention. Me? I found out real early it was safer to blend into the wallpaper, keep my head down with a book, stay invisible when Dad was drinking and the world got loud. So nobody expected me to join up, least of all my guidance counselor, nursing, teaching. Those are safe bets, Sarah. But I wanted to prove I was made of something tougher. Maybe I wanted to see if I could be a hero too, like in those stories I'd read hiding in my room. Basic training nearly broke me, but I stuck it out, silent, soaking up the drill sergeants yelling, finishing every run, never cracking. My squad leader started calling me the Ghost, said I was the most reliable private he'd ever had, always doing the thankless jobs, never asking for an easy day. Honestly, I like the anonymity. Logistics isn't glamorous, making sure everyone's got enough socks, ammo, and toilet paper, but I did it with pride. I worked overtime, took extra shifts, memorized inventory sheets like Bible verses. People overlooked me, but Sergeant Rodriguez saw the effort. I could solve supply problems that had stumped lifers, but still, nobody saw the real me. At least, not until that repelling accident forced me into the spotlight. Even then, I tried to keep my head down. My injuries were obvious, but I kept telling myself and everyone else I was fine. Just let me get back to work. It took a direct order to get me to the ER, where the doc stared in disbelief as I shrugged off the pain. When can I get back on duty? I asked, and the look he gave me, half respect, half concern, still makes me smirk. Recovery was hell. Sitting still, doing nothing, that's not me. I read everything I could, military manuals, logistics theory, anything to keep my mind busy. Painkillers? Just ibuprofen. Thanks. My family offered a visit, but I told them not to bother. I've always handled my own problems. So there I was in the waiting room, surrounded by other soldiers, some grumbling, some stoic like me. A nurse finally called my name and led me to a tiny exam room with a view of the parade ground. I could see soldiers drilling perfectly in sync, and all I could think about was falling behind in my career. Promotion exams, gone for now. The physical pain was nothing compared to the frustration. That's when Marcus Thompson walked in. Petty officer, Navy SEAL, camouflage uniform like it was growing on him, moved like he owned the floor, but quiet, observant. He introduced himself, said he was filling in at the hospital during his own recovery. I didn't know what to make of him. I'd never met a SEAL, and part of me wondered what he was doing here with a bunch of regular Army grunts. He started the exam, flipping through my file, barely saying a word at first. But he wasn't like the other doctors. He noticed things: my muscle tone, my calloused hands, even the way I moved when I thought no one was watching. He started with normal questions, pain scale, sleep quality, but he watched my face for tells. 3 out of 10, I said, but he knew I was lying. When he tested my grip strength, even with my bad shoulder, I surprised him. That was his first tell, the little arch of his eyebrow. Then he started talking about his own training, dropping hints: long-range recon, advanced trauma care, that sort of thing. And I found myself reacting just a little. When he mentioned a classified training site in Virginia, I flinched. That's not something a regular medic would know. He started connecting the dots: my physical condition, my reading habits, my tactical knowledge, and you could see his mind working. He asked about my injury, and I gave him the official story, but he saw through it. My records showed old injuries that didn't add up for logistics, specialist knife wounds, healed fractures. It was like he was piecing together a puzzle I'd spent years hiding. Then he hit me with a question that changed everything. Where did you really learn to tie a prusik knot with your non-dominant hand under stress? My brain just stopped. That knot isn't taught outside certain programs, and the way he asked it, quiet and direct, told me he knew exactly what he was doing. I tried to keep my cool, but he'd already read me like an open book. Marcus let me off the hook, though, kind of. He reminded me about medical confidentiality, promised anything I said would stay between us, and then gently hinted that he had the clearance to deal with sensitive information. For the first time in years, I felt safe, like maybe I didn't have to carry everything alone. That night, I called my handler, Colonel Hayes, tough as nails, all business, and laid out what happened. She was skeptical, but a background check on Marcus turned up gold. Multiple deployments, top clearance, training with units, so secret I'd only heard rumors. Next morning, Marcus met me in a skiff, a secure room with white noise generators. No windows, the kind of place where secrets are currency. He started by leveling with me his work with Task Force 160, his experience treating people like me. It was the first time I felt I could drop the mask, just a little. I explained my real injuries, the special gear that caused complications, the symptoms I'd hidden for months. Nerve damage, dizziness, stuff that could end my career if anyone else found out. Marcus listened, asked smart questions, took notes. Never judged, just understood. Here's the twist: Marcus wasn't just treating me. He was running a classified study on how to support deep cover operatives like me. All this time, I've been dodging the system, and the one guy who could help was literally assigned to find people like me. His therapy was different techniques for operators whose bodies and minds had seen too much. And as he treated me, something changed. I found myself looking forward to our sessions. It wasn't just the medical help, it was the honesty, the relief of not having to pretend. Marcus and I started sharing more. He told me about his own family, the pressure to live up to expectations, the missions he couldn't talk about. I told him about Texas, the silence, the ways I'd learned to hide. We were both products of places that demanded we be strong and invisible at the same time. Over weeks, we started to realize our professional walls had become a bridge. I was healing not just my body, but in ways I'd never expected. Of course, nothing in the military stays private. Colonel Hayes and a bunch of suits from unnamed agencies called us in. You ever sit across from a table full of senior officers and spooks and feel like your whole life's being dissected? Yeah, that happened. Turns out, our relationship was being watched as a test case. They'd noticed my stress indicators were down, performance up, and Marcus was doing his best work too. What they saw was that having someone who understood the burden didn't compromise security, it actually made us better. So they offered us a deal. We'd work together as part of a new experimental program, deep cover operative paired with specialized support, both with high clearance, both knowing the other's secrets. Marcus would train up on intel work, I'd learn to coordinate with special ops teams, and we'd take on missions no one else could handle together. It sounded crazy at first. Every instinct screamed at me to keep things separate. Love and duty never mix. But Marcus made his case. Having someone who gets it, who you don't have to hide from, that's not a weakness. It's the only way to survive the long haul. Even the brass admitted their old approach was burning people out. We took the deal. Our first mission together, can't tell you where, can't tell you when, but let's just say it was the kind of assignment that makes you realize how small and how strong you can feel at the same time. As that plane lifted off from a secret airstrip, Marcus beside me, I thought back to that silent kid in Texas, the invisible soldier who thought strength meant never letting anyone in. Turns out, real strength is letting the right person see you really see you and trusting them to carry some of the weight. You know, sometimes the best revenge on all the people and systems that tried to keep you small is to build something they never saw coming. A partnership built on absolute trust in a world built on secrets. Now, I know not everyone's going to agree with how we handle things. Some people say you should never mix business and your heart. Others think keeping secrets is the only way to stay safe. But let's be real, the lines are never that clear. So tell me, What would you have done in my place? Where's the line between loyalty and living your own damn life? Drop your thoughts below, tell me what side you're on, and don't forget somewhere out there, there's another silent soldier trying to decide who they can trust. Maybe they'll find their own Marcus. Maybe that's you. Let's hear it. What's justice look like to you? And how far would you go to protect it?